What's up guys, SharpTony here, and today we're going to talk about class roles in EverQuest 2, roles for each individual class and archetype. Because I've been teaming a lot lately, so I'm trying to get my Zerka to 100. And I see a lot of people are still kind of confused on how to play each particular class and what your role might be, so let's just dive right into it. For a fighter, if you are the tank of the group, just in general, this is pretty much for any game, do not worry about your DPS. Especially if you have a team of mages, and scouts, that's their job. It's their job to DPS. It's your job to make sure they do not get hit at all. Like a guardian, literally anything on this archetype, any class out of here. Your job is going to be, as long as you are the main tank, is to make sure that nobody on your team gets hit. Do not worry about your DPS. That's what they are for. You need to taunt. Get as many taunts as you can, as long as you are the main tank, and make sure that nobody else gets hit. That's how you become a good tank. If there are two tank classes in a team, define who's going to be the main tank, and the other class should turn on the buff Subtle Strikes, which decreases your hate gain by 150%, and just crank out that DPS as much as you can. Use any supporting buffs you have, like raid or friend buffs, and put them on the main tank. And if you are perhaps even a paladin, make sure you transfer your hate to that tank. And that's pretty much it. The idea of picking these classes is going to be to tank, and pretty much nothing else, unless there is another tank, in which case you will be DPS. Let's move on to the archetype priests. This goes for virtually anything in here. Some of these classes can DPS, some of them are more hybrid classes. Like a Mystic, for example, can also throw down some DPS with their heals. But the main thing you want to do, especially if you're the only healer in that group, is you heal. Screw waiting around, unless your tank is phenomenal and you don't have to worry too much about him taking damage. But screw waiting for your cooldowns and all that stuff from your nukes. Don't bother nuking, and don't frickin' try and be top DPS, because no matter what class you are out of here, you're not going to be top DPS anyway. You need to make sure that everybody stays alive. You need to make sure that at any point you could just click, boom, target's healed. No problems. You're not cooling down from a nuke and nothing like that. If there are two healers in the group, you still want to make sure that even if you're the secondary healer, if by any reason you needed to heal him, you would still be able to throw heals at him. Like I said, there are some classes in here that could put down DPS. Frickin' Templar or an Inquisitor you're not going to hurt much at all. So don't worry about doing damage. If you want to cast some debuffs on your opponent, as long as your tank's not going to die in the meantime, that's perfect. But your job is going to be to heal, and keep your tank alive. Mages, my favorite archetype, definitely. You are the DPS motherfathers. You are going to be pushing that big boy damage, and this is going to be your job. And you want to make sure that you are not taking aggro, and you want to make sure you're putting out as much DPS as possible. There are items that give you a minus hate gain. I would definitely get them at higher levels, because you're going to be doing so much DPS that aggro is going to be rough. Watch your AoEs when you're in a group, because if there's mobs that are a little out of range, you might just AoE, and if they're social enough, they're going to come and they're going to wipe your entire team. So you want to be careful with that. Also, in raids, if it's going to be your first time through a raid, I highly suggest you don't use macros for your nukes, because there's places you could look online that'll tell you the best casting sequence, but you might need to throw in some other things. For example, Absorb Magic is going to be used in one of the endgame raids, and if you're not using that, the tank will die, the entire raid will wipe. So sometimes you have a particular use that varies from your normal sequence of casting. So don't always use your macros, although they are incredibly helpful and just regular PVM. But for raids, be very careful. The object of your game is pretty much going to be DPS and debuffs. And for the raids, look up what you need to do for the debuffs, because some are kind of weird. Let's move on to the Scout. This is another pretty much pure DPS class. You're just going to be doing damage all day long. Some of them you're going to have debuffs on. Like, for example, the Dirge and the Troob, you're going to have some nice debuffs or some nice buffs. But you are the support class. Assassin and Ranger are going to be pushing DPS. Just make sure you know what you're hitting. And same with the mage. Don't hit stupid targets by accident and wipe your team. Sometimes you'll need to, not often, but sometimes you'll need to do certain things in raids as well. But generally, you're going to do alright DPS. And, well, the Beast Lord does a lot of DPS. So does the Ranger. And Assassin, really. But Dirge and Troob won't push as much. So, that's pretty much all you need to know about these. You will... And also, as a Scout and a Mage, try and use Poisons, because they're going to add to your DPS, and it'll help you out in the long run. So I hope you guys learned something here. And there are also hybrid classes for Scouts that could also go into a healing kind of spec. If you do that, that's good. Let your team know so they don't pick you up thinking you're DPS or heal spec, and you're not either. So always try and let your team know what spec you're in. And that's pretty much going to be it. This video is a little longer than I thought it would be. But if you guys have any further questions, please ask. And I hope this cleared up some things for some people, because I know from just teaming, a lot of people were confused on what their class or even their archetype was supposed to do. There's always wikis. Read your wikis. Know what you're doing. And you won't frustrate your teammates and wipe raids and stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.